Welcome back to Ithaca BJJ. If you've ever struggled with a strong turtle defense, this video is for you, because today we talk about using the rolling back take to break down that defense. Let's get started. When you're in a head-to-head position against an opponent in turtle, attacking from the front can be difficult, especially against someone with a strong turtle defense. Instead, it's often easier to circle around to the side and begin your attack from there. What Professor Matt is explaining here is the importance of pulling your opponent into you. This gets you really sticky to their back, pinning yourself to them. This also puts pressure on their chest, which forces them to grab at your hands. This is what opens them up for the rolling back take. See here how he slides his inside knee up and moves high up on the back. His hips aren't by John's hips. Instead, they're up by the shoulders. Also, look at how Professor Matt's shoulder goes behind John's head. This forces John to roll. Let's watch that again from another angle. And if you only get in one hook, just pull your opponent to the other side to secure the second hook. Just like so. Now let's watch Brian and John demonstrate this technique. Now this is crucial for safety. Brian doesn't roll over his shoulder. Instead, he puts his weight down on John's head. John has enough experience to adjust, but a less experienced partner might not be able to. So John demonstrates the proper technique here. Notice how he rolls over on his shoulder. This protects the head. So Brian does a better job, but he rolls more to his side than on his shoulder, but he still protects John's head. Now let's watch John. He circles to the side and locks in the seatbelt. As he pulls, he moves up high on Brian's back and forces Brian's shoulder to the ground. Brian remarks that he can feel this pressure. That's what allows John to roll him properly without putting weight on his head. Now let's check out Jeremy. He executes this beautifully. Look at that perfect roll over on his shoulder. Now this is a slight digression. Notice how Professor Matt cups his hands. This is something that he did back in his MMA days. We're not even sure this is legal in BJJ competitions, so we kind of laughed about it in the gym. So he cups his hands around John's chin, squats down, and pulls up against his throat. That gets the tap. He even talks here about if there's a wall, you can run him into the wall to get more leverage on that choke. Kids, do not try this in an IBJJF tournament. Now let's talk a little bit about defense. If someone tries to get that against you, you can simply roll over on your side and get to your back. You end up in side control, but at least you're not getting choked. Now what if they have you here and they've gotten control of your arm and they're trying to set up that darce? What Professor Matt is doing here is he's grabbing John's tricep. He lifts that leg and he's going to pull his head out as he rotates around. Whether they're setting up a darce or an anaconda, as soon as that arm comes in, you need to get control of it. If you just sit there, this is going to happen. They're going to get around, get that seatbelt, and start their attack. What he is explaining here is once they get things locked up, it's going to be extremely difficult to defend. If you take too long and they do get things locked up, one thing that you can do is pull your arms in and grab their arms and their hands, and then simply flatten yourself out. When you flatten yourself out and widen your legs, you give yourself a wide base, which makes it extremely difficult to turn you. Notice here how wide Professor Matt has his legs. Now, an experienced opponent, eventually, they're going to give up on this and just go around to your back. In that case, as they let up, you can actually get back to your knees, back to a slight turtle, and catch them as they're coming around and start to reestablish your side control. What he's explaining here is once things get locked up, you need to pull your arms in, because if that arm is caught up by your ear, it's going to start to cut off the carotid. And this is what's going to send you into the shadow realm. So now we're back to John and Brian. Notice how wide John has his legs, and he's pulling Brian's hands into his chest, which allows him to come up and counter. So there's John locking things up, and he's instructing Brian, hey man, you need to widen those legs. That's going to prevent the turn. If the legs are too close together, you're going to get turned. And there you have it, folks. Some techniques for attacking that turtle, and a few defenses of your own. Thanks again for watching, and check out this next video that YouTube thinks you'll like. And remember to like and subscribe.